The stadium roared. A tidal wave of sound crashing over Javier Morales as he stood on the 50-yard line. The football slick with sweat in his hands. He could feel the eyes of 30,000 fans burning into him. But it was Coach Hargrove's glare from the sidelines that cut the deepest. 3 words had changed everything. I'm gay. Coach. Javier's heart pounded as he replayed the moment from 2 hours ago in the locker room. He hadn't planned to come out not like that. Not in the middle of the season with the Texas State Wildcats on the cusp of a championship run. But when Hargrove had cornered him after practice, demanding to know why he'd been distracted lately, the truth had spilled out like water from a broken dam. Javier had stood tall, his voice steady despite the tremor in his chest, and said it. Hargrove's face had twisted shock, then disgust, then a cold, hard resolve. You're off the team, Morales. We don't need that kind of distraction here. Now, under the stadium lights, Javier gripped the ball tighter, his knuckles whitening. He wasn't just the star quarterback. He was the heart of this team, the one who'd carried them to an undefeated season. And yet, here he was, facing exile for who he loved. He glanced at Marcus, his best friend and the team's wide receiver, standing a few yards away. Marcus's dark eyes held a quiet strength, a silent promise, I've got you. The whistle blew, signaling the end of warm-ups. Javier jogged toward the sidelines, his teammates' cheers fading into a hollow buzz. Hargrove was waiting, his clipboard clutched like a shield. You're done, Morales, he said, voice low but sharp enough to slice through the noise. Pack your things. You're not suiting up tonight or ever again. The words hit like a linebacker at full speed. Javier's breath caught, but he refused to let Hargrove see him break. You're making a mistake, Coach, he said, his voice steady, though his hands shook. This team needs me. We need winners, Hargrove snapped. Not complications. You made your choice. Javier's jaw tightened. He wanted to scream, to shove the hypocrisy back in Hargrove's face. How many times had the coach preached, team is family, while turning a blind eye to players' real struggles? But before he could speak, Marcus stepped forward, his broad shoulders squared. You're wrong, Coach, Marcus said, his voice calm but unyielding. Javier's the best damn player you've got. You kick him out. You're kicking out our shot at the title. The air thickened. Teammates nearby froze, their eyes darting between Javier, Marcus, and Hargrove. The coach's face reddened, but Marcus didn't flinch. Javier felt a spark of warmth in his chest. Marcus always had his back, even when it meant risking his own spot on the team. Stay out of this, Thompson, Hargrove growled. Unless you want to join him on the bench. Marcus didn't move. If that's what it takes, maybe I will. Javier's heart lurched. He grabbed Marcus's arm, pulling him back. Don't, he whispered. You don't need to do this. But Marcus's eyes locked onto his, and in that moment, Javier saw something deeper than friendship, something that had been growing between them for months. Unspoken but undeniable. I'm not letting you go through this alone, Marcus said softly. Hargrove scoffed, turning away. You've got 10 minutes to clear out, Morales. Don't make a scene. As the coach stormed off, Javier felt the weight of the moment crash over him. His dream years of sweat, sacrifice, and touchdowns was unraveling because of who he was. But Marcus's hand on his shoulder anchored him. We'll figure this out, Marcus said. You're more than this team, Javi. You're bigger than Hargrove. Javier nodded, though doubt gnawed at him. He'd grown up in El Paso, the son of Mexican immigrants who'd worked double shifts to buy him cleats. Football was his ticket, his way to honor their sacrifices. Now, it was slipping away. But as he looked at Marcus, at the fierce loyalty in his eyes, Javier felt a flicker of hope. Maybe he wasn't alone in this fight. The locker room was a blur as Javier packed his bag. Teammates avoided his gaze, some out of shame, others fear. Only Marcus stayed, helping him shove jerseys and pads into a duffel. "What now?" Javier asked, his voice raw. Marcus zipped the bag shut, his hand lingering on the strap. "Now, we show them what they're losing. You're Javier Morales. You don't quit." As they walked out into the Texas night, the stadium lights fading behind them, Javier felt the first stirrings of defiance. Hargrove thought he'd broken him. But Javier wasn't done up by a long shot. And with Marcus by his side, he'd fight for more than just a spot on the team. He'd fight for who he was. The diner on Route 66 was a neon-lit relic, its red vinyl booths and jukebox humming with old-school charm. Javier and Marcus sat across from each other, a plate of untouched fries between them. The weight of the night pressed down, heavier than the Texas heat outside. Javier stared at the fries, his mind replaying Hargrove's words, "You're done, Morales." He'd always known coming out could cost him. Texas wasn't exactly a beacon of progress, but he hadn't expected it to hurt this much. "I should have kept my mouth shut," he muttered, pushing a fry across the plate. "One stupid moment, and I've lost everything." Marcus leaned forward, his elbows on the table. "You didn't lose me," he said, his voice steady but warm, like a fire on a cold night. "And you didn't lose who you are?" Hargrove's the one who's losing his best player, his shot at a championship. Javier managed a half smile. Marcus had a way of making the impossible feel within reach. They'd met freshman year, bonded over late-night film sessions, and shared dreams of going pro. Marcus was the quiet one, always observing, always steady. Javier was the fire, quick to laugh, quicker to fight. Somewhere along the way, their friendship had deepened into something neither had named. Until tonight. "You didn't have to stick your neck out back there," Javier said, meeting Marcus's gaze. "You could have stayed out of it. Kept your spot." Marcus's eyes softened, but his voice was firm. "I meant what I said. If they don't want you, I don't want them." Besides, he hesitated, then reached across the table, his fingers brushing Javier's. "I'm not just doing this for you." Javier's breath hitched. The diner's hum faded, and for a moment, it was just the Marcus's hand warm against his, those dark eyes holding a truth they'd both danced around for too long. Javier wanted to say something, anything, but the words caught in his throat. Instead, he turned his hand over, lacing their fingers together. It was small, but it felt like a rebellion. The moment shattered when Javier's phone buzzed. A text from his teammate. "Derek, Hargrove's telling everyone you quit. Team's pissed." What's really going on? Javier's stomach twisted. Hargrove wasn't just kicking him out. He was rewriting the story to save face. "He's lying," Javier said, showing Marcus the text. "He's making it look like I walked away." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Then we tell the truth. People need to know what he did." Javier shook his head. "Who's gonna believe me? I'm the gay kid who caused a distraction. Hargrove's got the whole town in his pocket." He leaned back, running a hand through his dark hair. "My parents, they don't even know yet. If this gets out, it'll kill them." Marcus squeezed his hand. "You don't have to do this alone. We'll figure out how to tell your parents, how to tell the team. But you can't let Hargrove control the narrative." Javier nodded, but the fear lingered. His parents, Elena and Miguel, were devout Catholics, proud of their son's football stardom but rigid in their beliefs. He'd always planned to tell them on his own terms, Not like this, not with his career in ruins. As they left the diner, Marcus's phone lit up with a notification. He frowned, scrolling through X. Javi, look at this. He held up a post from a local sports blog, rumors swirling about Texas State QB Javier Morales leaving the team. Sources say personal issues, but no confirmation. Wildcats in chaos before big game. Great, Javier muttered. It's already spreading. Marcus pocketed his phone. Then we get ahead of it. You're not just some rumor. You're the best quarterback in the state. If Hargrove wants to play dirty, we'll play smarter. They walked to Marcus's beat-up Chevy, the night air thick with possibility and dread. Javier glanced at Marcus, his profile sharp against the streetlights. Why are you doing this? He asked quietly. Risking everything for me. Marcus stopped, turning to face him. Because I've seen you fight. Javi. On the field. In life. You don't give up. And he stepped closer, his voice dropping. Because I care about you. More than I've said. Javier's heart raced. He wanted to close the distance, to let the world fall away, but the fear of losing everything held him back. Instead, he nodded, a silent promise to keep fighting. They climbed into the truck, the engine rumbling to life, carrying them toward an uncertain future but together. The Morales family home in El Paso was a modest ranch-style house, its walls lined with photos of Javier's football, Journey Little League trophies, high school championships, and a framed article about his scholarship to Texas State. Javier stood in the living room, his duffel bag at his feet, dreading the conversation ahead. Marcus sat on the couch, offering a quiet nod of support as Elena and Miguel entered, their faces etched with worry. Javier, what's this about you leaving the team? Elena asked, her voice trembling. Derek called. Said there's rumors. Javier's throat tightened. He'd rehearsed this moment 100 times, but the words felt like glass. I didn't leave, Ma. Coach Hargrove kicked me out. Miguel's brow furrowed. Kicked you out? For what? You're the best they've got. Javier glanced at Marcus, drawing strength from his steady presence. Because I told him I'm gay. The room fell silent. Elena's hand flew to her cross necklace, her eyes wide. Miguel's face hardened, not with anger, but with confusion, as if the words didn't compute. Gay? He repeated, his voice low. You're saying you're. Yeah, Dad, Javier said, standing taller. I'm gay. I've known for a while. I didn't want to tell you like this, but Hargrove didn't give me a choice. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Javier, why didn't you tell us? We're your family. I was scared, he admitted, his voice cracking. Scared you'd look at me differently. Scared I'd lose you. Miguel stepped forward, his hands clenched. Lose us? Mijo, you're our son. But this is a lot. The church, the community, what are people gonna say? Marcus stood, his voice calm but firm. With all due respect, Mr. Morales, what people say doesn't change who Javier is. He's still the same guy who carried your family's dreams on his shoulders. And he's still the best quarterback I've ever seen. Elena looked at Marcus, her expression softening. You knew about this, Marcus? Marcus nodded. I've known for a while. And I'm standing by him, no matter what. Javier's chest ached with gratitude. He wanted to reach for Marcus, to anchor himself in that unwavering support. But he held back, unsure how his parents would react. Elena wiped her eyes, stepping closer. Javier, I don't understand everything right now, but I know I love you. We'll figure this out. Okay. Miguel stayed silent, his gaze fixed on the floor. Finally, he spoke, his voice rough. I need time. Javier. It's not what I expected. The words stung, but Javier nodded. I get it, Dad. I just need you to know I'm still me. As his parents retreated to the kitchen, Javier sank onto the couch beside Marcus. That could have gone worse, he said, trying to lighten the mood. Marcus chuckled softly. Yeah, but it could have gone better too. Javier leaned closer, their shoulders brushing. Thanks for being here. I don't know if I could have done that alone. You're never alone, Marcus said, his voice low and sure. For a moment, their eyes locked, and Javier felt the pull again, that unspoken something that made his heart race. The moment was interrupted by Javier's phone buzzing. An email from an unfamiliar address, Scout from USC. Heard about your situation. Interested in talking. Javier's breath caught. USC top college football program in the country. He showed Marcus, who grinned. Told you, Javi. You're too good to be sidelined. But doubt crept in. What if they find out why I left Texas State? What if they're just like Hargrove? Then we keep fighting, Marcus said. But something tells me USC isn't scared of who you are. They want a winner. That's you. Javier stared at the email, hope and fear warring in his chest. He didn't know what lay ahead, but with Marcus beside him, he felt ready to face it. As they left the house, the Texas stars above seemed a little brighter, whispering of second chances. Los Angeles was a shock to Javier's system sprawling. Loud and alive in a way El Paso and Austin never were. He and Marcus stood outside the USC athletic complex, the iconic Trojan statue gleaming under the California sun. Javier's palms were sweaty, not from the heat, but from the weight of this moment. A scout had flown them out, all expenses paid, to meet the coaching staff. It felt like a lifeline, but Javier couldn't shake the fear that it might snap. You got this, Marcus said, adjusting Javier's tie. They were dressed sharply, Javier in a borrowed blazer, Marcus in a crisp button-down. You're Javier Morales. You throw lasers and break defenses. They'd be idiots not to want you. Javier laughed, the tension easing slightly. You're my hype man now. Always have been, Marcus said, his smile warm but tinged with something deeper. Javier felt it again, that pull, that unspoken promise. He wanted to say something, but the words stayed locked away. Inside, the USC head coach, Dana Washington, greeted them. She was a legend, first woman to lead a top-tier program, with a reputation for building champions and breaking barriers. Her office was lined with trophies, but her eyes were kind, assessing. Javier, she said, shaking his hand. I've watched your tape. You've got an arm like a cannon and instincts most pros would kill for. But I need to know what happened at Texas State. Javier's stomach dropped. He'd known this was coming. Coach Hargrove kicked me off the team, he said, his voice steady despite the nerves. Because I told him I'm gay. Washington leaned back, her expression unreadable. And how did that affect your play? It didn't, Javier said. I was still throwing for 300 yards a game, leading the team to wins. Hargrove just didn't want me around. Marcus chimed in, his voice calm but firm. Javier's the heart of any team he's on. Texas State's losing their shot at a title because of Hargrove's prejudice. Washington nodded, scribbling something on a notepad. And you, Marcus? You're his teammate, Marcus said quickly, then added, and friend. Best wide receiver he's ever thrown to. She smiled faintly. I've seen your tape too. Marcus, you're no slouch. She turned back to Javier. Here's the deal. USC doesn't care who you love. We care about who you are on the field and in the locker room. You're a leader, Javier. We need that. But I need to know you're all in, no distractions. No looking back. Javier's heart raced. This was Ida's second chance. A bigger stage. But the weight of Hargrove's rejection, his parents' uncertainty, still lingered. I'm all in, Coach, he said, meeting her gaze. Football's my life. I just want a fair shot. Washington stood, extending her hand. You've got it. Welcome to the Trojans. As they left the office, Javier felt like he could breathe for the first time in days. Marcus clapped him on the back, his grin wide. Told you, Javi. You're unstoppable. Outside, under the palm trees, Javier stopped. Marcus, I need to say something. His voice was low, urgent. You've been with me through all of this, Hargrove. My parents. Now this. I don't know what I'd do without you. Marcus's smile softened. You'd be fine. But I'm glad I'm here. Javier stepped closer, his heart pounding. It's more than that. I think I'm falling for you. The words hung in the air, raw and real. Marcus's eyes widened, then softened. He reached for Javier's hand, squeezing it gently. Took you long enough to say it, he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. I've been falling for you since sophomore year. For a moment, the world was just them two young men, standing together, unafraid. But as they walked back to their hotel, Javier knew the fight wasn't over. USC was a fresh start, but the world beyond the field was still watching, waiting for him to falter. Back in Austin, the news broke like wildfire. Javier's signing with USC hit sports blogs and X, sparking a storm of reactions. Some called him a trailblazer. Others slung slurs, their words sharp as knives. Javier scrolled through the posts in his hotel room, his jaw tight. Marcus sat beside him, his presence a quiet anchor. Don't read that garbage, Marcus said, gently taking Javier's phone. They don't know you. Javier sighed, rubbing his temples. They know enough. Gay quarterback. Kicked off his team. Now at USC. It's all anyone's talking about. Marcus leaned closer, his shoulder brushing Javier's. Let them talk. You're about to show the world what you can do. Javier looked at him, the warmth in Marcus's eyes cutting through the noise. You make it sound so easy. It's not, Marcus admitted. But you're not alone. And you're not just a story. You're Javier Morales, and you're going to light up the field. The next day, Javier stepped onto USC's practice field, the weight of expectation heavy on his shoulders. His new teammates were a mix of curious and cautious, their eyes tracking him as he warmed up. Coach Washington ran a tight ship, her drills brutal but fair. Javier threw pass after pass, each one crisp, his focus razor-sharp. By the end of practice, a few teammates clapped him on the back, their nods a silent welcome. But not everyone was on board. A lineman named Brody, a hulking senior with a southern drawl, muttered under his breath as they left the field. Hope you're worth the hype, Morales. We don't need distractions. Javier's stomach twisted, but he kept his face neutral. I'm here to play, Brody. That's it. Marcus overheard, his eyes narrowing. Ignore him, Javi. He's just testing you. That night, Javier and Marcus sat on the beach near their hotel, the Pacific Ocean stretching endless before them. The waves crashed softly, a stark contrast to the chaos in Javier's mind. What if Brody's right? He said, staring at the horizon. What if I'm just a distraction? Marcus turned to him, his expression fierce. You're not. You're a leader. Brody's just scared of change. But you're going to change everything. Javier's eyes stung, not from the salt air, but from the weight of Marcus's belief in him. He reached for Marcus's hand, their fingers intertwining. I don't know how to do this, he admitted. Be out. Be a quarterback. Be us. Marcus's thumb traced circles on Javier's hand. We figure it out together. One step at a time. The next week was a blur of practices and media interviews. Javier dodged questions about Texas State, focusing on his excitement for USC. But the story followed him Hargrove's decision. The rumors. The truth. A local reporter cornered him after practice, her microphone thrust forward. Javier, is it true Coach Hargrove kicked you out for being gay? Javier froze, his heart racing. He'd wanted to control the narrative, but here it was, raw and exposed. He glanced at Marcus, standing nearby, and found the strength to speak. Yeah, it's true. Hargrove didn't want me because of who I am. But USC does. And I'm here to prove I'm more than a headline. The reporter's eyes widened, but Javier walked away, his head high. Marcus caught up, his grin wide. That's my guy? As they headed back to the dorms, Javier felt a shift. The fear was still there, but so was a fiery determination to prove Hargrove wrong, to show the world he could be a gay quarterback and a champion. With Marcus by his side, he felt unstoppable. But the real test was coming, USC's season opener, where every eye would be on him. The USC season opener was electric. The Coliseum packed with 80,000 fans chanting, "Fight on." Javier stood in the tunnel, his maroon and gold jersey crisp, his heart pounding like a drum. This was his moment not just to play, but to prove he belonged. Marcus stood beside him, their shoulders brushing, a silent reminder, we're in this together. As they took the field, the crowd's roar hit like a wave. Javier scanned the stands, spotting a rainbow flag waving among the sea of red. His chest tightened not with fear, but pride. He was out. He was here. And he was ready. The game was brutal. Oregon's defense was relentless, blitzing hard, but Javier was in the zone. He threw a 40-yard touchdown pass to Marcus in the first quarter, their connection seamless, like they'd never left Texas State. The crowd erupted, and Marcus sprinted to him, their helmets clacking in celebration. That's how you do it, Javi. Marcus shouted, his grin infectious. But not everyone was cheering. Brody, the lineman, grumbled on the sidelines, his eyes cold. Don't get cocky, Morales. One play doesn't make you a hero. Javier ignored him, focusing on the next drive. He led the Trojans down the field, his passes sharp, his reads flawless. By halftime, they were up 21-10, and Coach Washington pulled him aside. You're proving me right, kid, she said, her smile rare but genuine. Keep it up. The second half tested him. Oregon adjusted, their defense tightening, and Javier took a hard sack that left him gasping. As he staggered to his feet, Brody smirked from the line. Toughen up, princess. Marcus was there in an instant, helping Javier up. Don't listen to him, he whispered. You're killing it. Javier nodded, shaking off the pain. He threw another touchdown in the fourth quarter, this one to a different receiver, but it was Marcus's block that gave him the time. With seconds left, USC sealed a 35-24 victory. The crowd roared, and Javier felt a rush of triumph. He'd done it, not just survived, but thrived. After the game, Marcus pulled him into a hug, their pads clashing. "You were unreal out there," Marcus said, his voice thick with pride. Javier grinned, but his eyes caught the Jumbotron replaying his touchdown pass. The camera lingered on him and Marcus, their embrace drawing cheers and a few jeers. Javier's heart sank. The world was watching, and not everyone was on their side. Back in the locker room, Brody cornered him. "You're getting a lot of attention, Morales. Hope it doesn't go to your head." Javier squared his shoulders. "I'm here to play, Brody. Same as you." Brody snorted but backed off. Marcus appeared, his expression fierce. "He's not worth it, Javi. You just showed the whole country what you're made of." That night, Javier and Marcus sat in their dorm, the game still buzzing in their veins. Javier scrolled through X, where posts about his performance were trending. Some were hateful, but others, hundreds of them, called him an inspiration. A message from his mom popped up. "We watched the game. So proud of you, Mijo. We love you." Tears stung Javier's eyes. He showed Marcus, who smiled softly. "Told you they'd come around." Javier leaned against him, their shoulders pressed together. "I couldn't have done this without you," he said, his voice raw. "You're my rock." Marcus turned, their faces inches apart. "And you're mine." He leaned in, and this time, Javier didn't hesitate. Their kiss was soft, tentative, but it felt like a victory, one more step in their fight to be themselves. As they pulled apart, Javier knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. But with Marcus, his family, and USC behind him, he was ready for anything. The season flew by, each game a battle, each victory a statement. Javier and USC dominated, their record climbing to 11-0. But the real test came in the national championship against Alabama, broadcast live to millions. Javier felt the weight of it all: Hargrove's rejection, his parents' tentative acceptance, the world's eyes on him as the first openly gay quarterback in a title game. In the locker room before kickoff, Coach Washington gathered the team. "This is your moment," she said, her voice steady. "Not just to win, but to show what you're made of. Javier, you've carried us here. Led them out." Javier nodded, his heart pounding. Marcus squeezed his shoulder, their eyes meeting in a silent vow. They took the field under Miami's blazing lights, the crowd a sea of noise. Alabama was fierce, their defense a wall, but Javier was relentless. He threw 3 touchdowns, 2 to Marcus, their chemistry electric. In the final moments, with USC trailing by 3, Javier called an audible, scrambling for a 20-yard gain that set up the game-winning field goal. The Coliseum erupted as USC won 38-35. Javier and Marcus embraced on the field, helmets off, sweat and tears mixing. The Jumbotron caught it all, and this time, the cheers drowned out the jeers. Brody, of all people, clapped Javier on the back. "Didn't think you had it in you, Morales. Glad I was wrong." After the game, Javier's parents rushed the field, Elena pulling him into a tearful hug. "We're so proud, Mijo," she said. Miguel nodded, his eyes wet. "You're our champion." A week later, Javier and Marcus sat in a quiet L.A. cafe, the trophy gleaming on every newsstand. Javier's phone buzzed with offers, NFL scouts, endorsement deals, even a message from Coach Hargrove. "Congratulations." "I was wrong." Javier deleted it without a reply. Marcus reached across the table, his hand covering Javier's. You did it, Javi. You showed them all. We did it, Javier corrected, his voice soft. You were with me every step. Marcus smiled, his eyes warm. And I'm not going anywhere. Javier thought back to that night in the Texas State locker room, when everything seemed lost. He'd been kicked out, labeled a distraction, but he'd risen because of his talent, his courage, and the man sitting across from him. They'd faced hate, doubt, and fear, but they'd also found love, strength, and a family that grew to embrace them. As they left the cafe, hand in hand, Javier glanced at the stars above. He'd won more than a championship. He'd won the right to be himself unapologetically, undeniably. And with Marcus by his side, he knew the future was theirs to shape. Back in Texas, Hargrove watched the highlights, his face unreadable. He'd lost his star player, his chance at glory, all because he couldn't see past his own prejudice. Javier, meanwhile, was signing with the NFL, his name a beacon for others. The world was changing, and Javier Morales was leading the way, one touchdown, one truth, one love at a time.